Divine grace, founder Acharya of ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, their most merciful Lordship Shri Shri Radhakund Javihari ki, Shri Jagannath Shri Baladev Mahi Subhadra ki, Shri Nataji Shri Balagopal ki, Shri Shri ki, Yitai Go Premanand. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the Lord and Spirit of Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraya Nasta Praishu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhagavati Naistaki.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistaki.
Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. Canto 1, Chapter 4, Text 14 or 15? 15? Text 15. Sa kadachit sarasvatya. Sa kadachit sarasvatya. Upasprishya jalam suci. Upasprishya jalam suci. Vivikta eka asina. Vivikta eka asina. Udite Ravi Mandale. Udite Ravi Mandale. Sakadachit Sarasvatya. Upasprishya jalam suci. Vivikta eka asina. Udite Ravi Mandale. Sakadachit Sarasvatya. Upasprishya jalam suci. Vivikta eka asina. Udite Ravi Mandale. I had mentioned that I would go through the transliteration alphabet so that those of us who are having difficulty being able to repeat back. Let's see.
14 or 15?
15. Let's see where that. Oh boy, I thought it was in every book, right in the beginning.
I couldn't find them in the front or back row.
Okay, well, we'll have to do that another time.
Can we just grab a couple of beaters and do it now?
We could.
Beaters right there.
I think it would be, but now that we've already started, I think you guys just try and repeat what you hear is the best thing. If you can, what they did in the Gurukulis as children, when the Guru would recite, they didn't have books. They just repeat it back. Because this language is coming from a place where there is no writing, Sanskrit, without writing. So if you can do the best you can, Bhagavatam mostly is hearing from those that have received the knowledge before us. So if we listen very carefully, then we just repeat what we hear. Now let's see where it is. Sakarachit sarasvatya. Upasprishya jalam suci. Vivikta eka asina. Udite Ravi Mandale. We will do the Bhagavad Gita another time, but we're just a little pressed for time today. Do that another time. You want to repeat? You want to do it?
Sakadachit Saraswatya.
Sakaraschit sarasvatya.
Upasprishya jalam suchi.
Upasprishya jalam suci.
Vivikta eka ashina.
Vivikta eka asina.
Udite ravi mandale.
Udite Ravi Mandale. Sakarachit sara. Oh, you want to go? But you want to try? Yeah. Yeah. Sakarachit sarasvatya. Upasrishya Jalam Suchi. Vivikta Eka Asina. Udite Ravi Mandale. Okay, I'll repeat it one more time. Sakara Chitarasvasya Upasrishya Jalam Suchi Vivikta Eka Asina Udite Ravi Mandale Saha. When you see a period under the H, it means you repeat the previous vowel. So this is Saha. Is he. When you see a long A, it means ah. Hold it for a while. And then C, with the period under it, is ch, like church, chit. Kadas chit, kadat chit. Once. Sarasvatya. On the bank of the Saraswati. Upasprishya. That accent on top of the S makes it a SH sound. After finishing morning ablutions. Jalam. Water. Suchi. Being purified. Vivikte. Concentration. Eka. Alone. Ashina. Being thus seated. Udite. On the rise. Ravi Mandale. Of the sun disk. Sakara Chitarasvatya Upasrishya Jalam Suchi Vivikta Eka Asina Udite Ravi Mandale. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace by Charnadavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Once upon a time, he, Vyasadeva, as the sun rose, took his morning ablution in the waters of the Saraswati and sat alone to concentrate. Please repeat. Once upon a time, he, Vyasadeva, as the sun rose, took his morning ablution in the waters of the Saraswati and sat alone to concentrate. Once upon a time, he, Vyasadeva, as the sun rose, took his morning ablution in the waters of the Saraswati and sat alone to concentrate. Purport by His Divine Grace by Charnadavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The Saraswati is flowing in the Badarik Ashram area of the Himalayas. So the place indicated here is Samyaprash in the Badarik Ashram where Sri Vyasadeva is residing. Om Jnana Timaranda Shagananjana Shalakaya Chakshusu Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. A lot of times when there's only a very small purport, we go on to the next verse. But there's enough to be said here. To the best of my knowledge, Mother Saraswati is no longer flowing to the exterior portions of India. But as we can see here, it's still flowing. Saraswati River is the manifestation in this world of Mother Saraswati, who is the goddess of learning, who is giving us the ability to communicate with each other. And she endows servants of Krishna with the wisdom that we get endowed with by Krishna Katha, by reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, by hearing, by chanting. So I was realizing this morning how previously I had been speaking about when Lord Nrsingadev manifest, his roar was such that the demons, the demon women who were carrying babies in their womb, they became aborted. The babies became aborted, right? So I had concluded that, we shouldn't see all abortions as necessarily a bad thing from that perspective. However, there's another thing to think about, because Prahlad Maharaj, having been born from the womb of the wife of the biggest demon in the universe at the time, who was controlling all the planetary systems, upper, lower, middle, everything. Being the demon he was, the saintly souls were thinking what kind of a demon he's going to give birth to. But while given protection by Narad Muni, the great sage and devotee of Lord Sri Krishna, this very soul that would otherwise have been believed to have been a demon, by hearing in his mother's womb, now here's something very significant being given to us in this age when we have the function of tape recording. It's no longer tape recording, but recording elevated souls' voices for those who are going to be born into this world to be educated before they even get here. Think about this. Now, we give knowledge to those of the nature of the mind and the consciousness able to absorb these things before being brought out into the material world, which Sukadeva Goswami also was given in the womb of his mother. So, by this superior knowledge, we see that they're receiving in their wombs. We are now 5,000 years later, in the case of Prahlad Maharaj, we're talking about millions of years later, now reading for our own spiritual advancement that which a child unborn in the womb had received. So this very profound concept that children can be taught in the womb. Then what to speak, we know why Prahlad was the son chosen to be born. By the thoughts of his father, Hiranyakasipu, desiring to bring forth a demon who would kill his enemy Vishnu, by misspeak spoke of the one who would kill the enemy of Vishnu. And so Prahlad was born as a very dear friend of Krishna by the misspeaking of his father. Now, there's also a very profound statement being made here, that by the consciousness of the father, the seed in his body was the particular one he empowered. You see this philosophy? I didn't make this up myself. When I've been preaching this for the past few years, that by the words of the Father, by the thoughts of the Father, at the time he's giving the seed to the mother, then here we have example of while the child is in the mother's womb, if the mother is herself following Vaishnava principles, she's hearing Srimad Bhagavatam every day. And the child, I read Srimad Bhagavatam, an hour a day. How long did it take me? 9 months. 9 months. Sound familiar of time, of something? That's how long a baby spends in the womb. So before the child is born, by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam every day, we're told by Srila Prabhupada, if you hear Srimad Bhagavatam in its entirety, you will be self-realized. What does that mean for a child in the mother's womb to come out self-realized? Isn't that amazing? We are being given here a formula so perfect that those in the past were trying to fulfill by their physical observations, by their impaired visions of what is right and what is wrong. Hitler, trying to create a super race, right? He's going to wipe out everybody else that doesn't look like the way he envisions in his mind human beings should look, to be perfect. But we have from Srimad Bhagavatam, and what is it? It's an offense to look at somebody's physical body and to judge them by that. It's a serious offense, especially against a devotee. So we know that a person's physical body has very little to do with their spiritual advancement once they have surrendered to Krishna. Of course, those who walk with God, they manifest in the perfection of ways that people who don't can't, just by nature of the way Krishna's energy is. So our love for Krishna comes out now that we have, to the extent that we do have the developed love for Krishna, but now we're being given knowledge that can enable us to guide society so that society can be producing very elevated souls, that this planet will be inhabited by very intelligent souls, very advanced spiritual souls from birth. They can even be taught Sanskrit, being that this Sanskrit language is the language of the demigods, which Krishna himself spoke all these scriptures into being with. Then we can understand that it is something, when we store it in our own consciousness, we are storing that which has substance, which is why we get satisfied, which is why we're being fed by this food that is where it comes from, the substance it describes. So as we read about Vyasadeva taking his oblations as the sun rises, in our minds, we're creating a picture of someone going to the waters to bathe, walking in the waters waist high, and bathing, and respecting the water. Before you even enter the waters, the sacred waters, you offer respects and obeisances. That's the nature of the waters. We don't just dive in them like there's something for us to enjoy. So we hold that in high respect, that Mother Saraswati, who is the source of knowledge, she's the source of wisdom, and applied wisdom, applied knowledge, which is wisdom. So she is the source of that. And she's manifesting in this form of Saraswati, the river. When we chant, and before we go on the altar, we perform Achman. And with Achman, you announce names of Krishna, placing the waters that you have called into the Achman pot. So we hold the Brahman thread and place this finger without the fingernail touching the water. Jai Jagannath, Jai Baladev, Jai. So Krishna gives us the mantras by which we can call these sacred rivers into the Achman pot. And then with that sacred water, then we anoint the body. Anointing the body, announcing names of Krishna, protects us. These are the gates of the body by which light comes in, by which sound comes in, by which knowledge comes in. And so by anointing them, we're protecting ourselves from the illusions of Mahamaya. And this opens our eyes to the reality that we speak about being. See, those words that we speak, because they're speaking of that which is taking place right now. Just like we were speaking, I was asking Tirthapa this morning, how big is Brahma's body? And he said, yeah. And then Krishna enters into them and then creates Brahma inside of all these universes. So he enters into each and every living entity. Can you imagine how small a living entity we are? If all these planets are as small as a little speckle on his toenail, right? That's about the size these planets are in comparison to the size of the body Brahma is making up in the universe. So what to speak of the soul, which Krishna shares the bodies with, then he goes with the body. Krishna is described as the size of the fist of the living form, right? So about the size of our fist, but we are the size of the 10,000th, the tip of a hair. Of course, I'm finding out that some hair is a little thicker than others. Sometimes it might more than 10 times. They can even clog up a drain, but anyway. See, Krishna's hair, Lord Shiva, in order for the sacred waters to make it down to the earth, he takes the sacred rivers in his own hair. His Sika has been growing for so long, he can wind thousands. If you can imagine, a man can grow at 50, 60 years hair down to his feet. What about 10 million years? Can you imagine how long that Sika is that he winds around his head? So, again, he has a different body. They are in a different place, in a different environment altogether. So this body that they have, that Brahma has, that Lord Shiva has, they're on an equal level in that regard to the form of Lord Mahavishnu lying on the ocean. I was reading yesterday, ocean of snakes, plural. So Sheshanag, I have always envisioned Sheshanag to be one big snake, right? But then Srimad Bhagavatam was bringing out Kapila Deva, was explaining to his mother where Mahavishnu lies, and he explained that he's laying on a bed of snakes, plural. So these are very dear associates of Krishna, taking that form to make him a bed. But of course, in our minds, snakes we think of as lower living entities and like that. But Krishna's original form is such that we have no idea in our minds what beauty is, what magnificence is, what big even is. And so our minds being as limited as they are, they keep us from being able to see reality as it is. When we chant Gayatri 3 times a day, with our mind, we are using the function of creation, you might say, within our minds, that people use to design magazines, to design advertising, to design a letter, to write different things, to draw with, right? You create it in your mind first. This same function that they're using to do these things, the Brahman uses to be able to see Brahma, to be able to communicate with Mahavishnu, to be able to offer respects with the mind. And this mind we will have to be able to continue doing that after we leave our bodies. After we leave our bodies. The same mind. This is why if we make it our friend now, it won't condemn us to hell. If we make our mind our friend by filling it only with things of the eternal nature of Krishna, then it will be our friend to carry with us beyond this life. And those things that others would have thought to be imagination, which we draw upon Scripture to be able to visualize. We don't visualize things out of our own concoctions, but we visualize using that which we know to be truth. So a man may envision in his mind a house. Vishvakarma, he is the architect, it is said, of the universe. So in such a position, he envisions with his mind. This house was once a vision in the mind of somebody. So similar. Yes.
You said the universe.
This house.
This house.
This house
Oh, this house.
was at one time a vision in somebody's mind, isn't it? And the substance of it is proof of the faith of the person in whose mind it was but a vision. Right? It is proof. And so it just didn't appear, but it was created with a function of the mind that we also have. And with that function, by what limits we put upon it, isn't it? So if you worship Krishna in your mind, worship him with pure gold. You can worship him with, sardonium stones. These that you read in the literatures of Bhagavatam, that these homes in the spiritual world are made of. We don't even have recollection of them on this planet. Some stones are here that were brought from other planets. There are actually seeds of flowers, parijata flowers, that come from heavenly planets that are here. They're preserved. And if we ever gain access, we have to take birth again, we may have access to the inner earth, which is described as the middle earth in Bhagavatam. So there they also have access to seeds, fruits, and vegetables, which we don't have, which have not been tampered with. I'm wondering, as I'm preparing foods now every day, and I'm questioning the possibility that everything we're eating has been genetically tampered with. Yeah.
100%.
Even those things that are called organic. Because there was a time in which organic was normal, right? So when they start manufacturing these genetic seeds, they carry with them changes, can't be replicated. Actually, that's probably a protection. Maybe that, actually, now that I'm realizing it, that would keep them from being able to have their own offspring. They can't replicate themselves. That's the problem with genetically designed things. Not only are they, how can I say, manipulated incompletely without the ability to remanufacture themselves. They don't realize that every single aspect of that has its place to enable it to replicate itself. Yeah.
I don't know if you know this or not, but the banana we have now is not the same banana we had like 60, 70 years ago.
Right.
Because they were all the same plant, clones from the same plant.
Yeah.
So they're all equally susceptible to disease. So when one gets it, they all get it. So right now, the banana we're using now is called the New Rochelle. And it's the same thing. They're all genetic clones from that one original plant. So when one plant gets diseased, none of them can fight it off because they're all genetically the same.
Okay. See now, I want to make a distinction because there's a difference between genetics and grafting. You can take a plum and graft it to an apple.
Oh, yeah.
And you get a particular kind of fruit that has a blend of both qualities, right? But genetics, they're taking what is developed by the karmic reactions of the soul's previous involvement with the material energy, and they're trying to alter that. Which, see, in effect, we do that with making operations on human bodies as well. We want to say, well, this person, something happened that shouldn't have happened, or God's laws are not perfect, or we want to do something better than what circumstance or fate. We are more intelligent, we believe, the doctor believes he's more intelligent than fate is. But fate is the outcome of karma. And the more we try and change it, the more we ourselves become involved in the resultant reactions of it. And so we go from creating our own karma, when we go to involving other people in their karma and changing theirs, then we get reactions from theirs as well. And this is why the words of a leader, the leaders are responsible for 1/6 of their subjects' karma. It can be good or bad. Devotee doesn't want any karma, period. Because we know all involvement with this is bad. Good karma is bad karma too, because it keeps us connected to this material world. We don't want anything to do with the morta, place of death anymore.
We get released from karma, don't we?
Yes.
Because we take prashadam.
Because we take prashadam, because we're engaging these bodies now for the resultant end of Krishna's desire, which is a spiritual energy. So it's not an energy, even though it may seem the same, but if you're sensitive to it, you will notice a big difference. Just like reading Bhagavatam, this is my personal experience, the energy I feel, it's like a pure, strong feeling of wholesomeness, you know, after. It's the kind of feeling that you want to have all the time, you know. And then you read these books that are of questionable in nature by people who are not fully realized, and that it produces questions, unsatisfied, unanswered conclusions that are not really complete. And so if we keep filling ourselves with that, we won't be complete either, and we won't be satisfied, and we'll keep on looking more and more in other directions. So this is why it's so important, especially in the early stages of development of Krishna consciousness, to get a real good solid foundation of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and Chaitanya Charitamrita, because it will then carry us through. Because once we've made a record of it in our DNA, then that which we are, it is what we are. We are truth. And it is a reminder. All of this is reminding us of what we are. And it's a record. So that record that Sukadeva Goswami has of his having given this knowledge, how many billions of souls do you think are benefiting since then How many billions of souls have been exposed now? See, we think there's 1 million now on the planet who have read this. That means getting up to this stage. How many generations to this point? And every 30 years, all these people are dying, right? And a new generation is coming. So to have gotten to the point in which there are about 1 million now, maybe more, on the planet, just imagine how many millions and millions before have already gone on, passed on. So this eternal benefit of Sukadeva Goswami, just think how advanced a soul he is. But of course, we are having the full knowledge that he came from the spiritual world itself. And when these living entities who come from the spiritual world, their lives are revealed, we see how much more effective the purity of their lives have upon how many more people than, the next door neighbor who goes to work 9 to 5 and, has only himself to think about. What devotee is always concerned about the welfare of others and not wanting suffering for any living entities. And so we learn from the scriptures that that's what love is. Love is looking out and caring for the well-being of ultimately the Supreme. But if we develop that attitude towards Krishna, and we're always serving Krishna, then automatically when we go to our fellow man, our fellow human beings, we're going to have the same attitude. I love you because love is there. If love is there for one, it doesn't automatically leave, because love stays itself the same nature. All Krishna is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And he's always going to be like that, but as well, he is increasing, which I don't know for a fact that this universe is expanding. But the nature of Krishna's love is expanding, because as it goes out to all of those who are receiving it, their experience is also expanding, part of the totality of the consciousness of the universe. Because the universe itself is being pushed and controlled by the consciousness of the living beings inside of it. And this is all karmic reactions being contained, you could say. So as we create the pressure of karma by our thoughts, by our actions, by our involvement with the material energy, it puts force on the external energy that has to fulfill Krishna's laws, Krishna's will. And then what we do, we go about trying to evade those laws or run away from those laws or think that we know a better way than those laws. But Krishna's already made everything perfect. That's why we can see. And seeing like that, then it satisfies within us the need to know that God is just, God is merciful, God is kind, and His well-being that we long for is the presence of Krishna. It's what we're longing for, and the perfection of everything we're looking for can be found in Krishna. Even if we were to say He's not God, and if we just say it's a history of a human being, but nevertheless, the acts of such a human being are the greatest that we have recorded of anybody else. So even if we conclude that there is no God, yet we believe that, following the example of someone who's superior to us, then even that would be reason for us to follow his example, or to try and reach to attain the depths of the knowledge that he has given by his communication with those of us who are most exalted, like Arjun. Arjun. Yeah, the conversation with Arjun, Arjun being in line the same son of Indra, that we're reading from Sukadeva Goswami, also son of Veda Vyas, Indra, let me think now, Indra, Brahma. When does Indra come into this picture? Indra's from the body of Brahma too, right? Do you know Brahma? Is Indra coming from Brahma or no? Who is Indra born from? I'm gonna have to look this up. See, the thing about Srila Prabhupada giving us such valuable knowledge is that the answers are there for us to find. And whatever, if there may be something that we can't find, all we have to do is ask Krishna. And we can know he will fill our hearts with transcendental knowledge. I was analyzing the fact that Lord Brahma has 4 heads, right? When we see him in his daily activities as Haridas Thakur, he is using the function of the mind to its fullest capacity. When you are chanting and you're meditating upon Krishna, you're filling the mind with the greatest extent it can be used for. So then what to speak? If while you're chanting, you're meditating on another scripture, he has the ability to do that 4 times. So he can be meditating on Sri Ishopanishad here, Bhagavad Gita over here, Chaitanya Charitamrita over here, Bhagavatam. This is Brahma's mind he can fill like that. See, that's what the nature of this spirituality is, that it is expanding constantly. By expanding itself into the hearts of the devotees, their experience with each other gives each other more full and complete realization. And so they give that to others. It's just a constantly growing experience of transcendental bliss. That energy we are is made of that expanding bliss. That's what we are. We are expanding. We're expanding bliss. But the universe is going by like bubbles, it said, on the ocean. As these bubbles just come and go. That's from the perspective of one who is in the spiritual world. That's how fast the material universes are manifesting and going, coming and going. They're in a completely different realm of keeping track of time. This is why I believe actually it's valuable for us to take the perspective given by Bhagavatam as regards to time versus how we're saying, oh, we went this many times around the sun, so we're 75 years old. Only 75 times around the sun. And those who have come before us have gone 100,000 times in one visit. But this visit is the last visit on our journey to the spiritual realm, where we can say goodbye to everything temporary and say hello to everything permanent and eternal. That's where we will be going from here. But the nature of eternity, can we conceive of that in our minds? When we think of that vast expanse of the universe, how far does it go in our minds? There is a limit, but in the spiritual world, there is no limit. And what we limit the mind to being able to grasp is only by our own will. so we can see the eternalness, or we can be limited. It's up to our will to know eternity, our will to know Krishna. It is by the will we have to be able to determine, Krishna, I want to serve you. And I hope and pray that you may give me everything I need to be able to do that, perform that function. That's the most glorious position for a human being to be in, as far as I can see. If anyone else can convince me otherwise, I'll go that way. But as far as I've seen from all these studies of all these books that I've read, it looks to me as though the only being that I have ever had reason to believe is perfect is Krishna. He knows everything. He explains everything that's come into being, how he did it. Gives us his own thoughts. And the fact that we can commune with him at any time. How much a friend he is to come with us. We've drugged him. We dragged him into this place because we wanted to somehow find enjoyment separate from him. And still, rather than leave us alone to our own selves, to be destroyed by our own minds' concoctions, he comes with us as a friend, and to give us a way back when we finally decide to turn back to Krishna. Then he's there waiting with open arms, like a father whose son has gone away in his own rebellious ways, thinking he knows what is best. But Krishna knows what is best, and he's just waiting with open arms till we're ready to come back. We can pray and hope that we never get the offense that he won't want us back. But as far as I understand, it is Krishna's intention that the whole universe come back. And in glorifying, he glorifies Murari Gupta in Srila Prabhupada's purports, that because of the desire he had to want to take upon himself the sins of the entire universe, if it would mean that they could all go back to Godhead. This is the mentality of a pure soul, a pure devotee of Krishna, that if there's any way my suffering can relieve others of the pain they're going through and allow them to experience Krishna consciousness, allow them to experience the completeness of the happiness of being in full knowledge of Krishna, in full protection of Krishna, then please let me suffer that. If that could mean someone could find peace of mind with God. So much suffering out there, unnecessary suffering. If it is in fact by the will of the mind that a person chooses to serve God, at every moment we have the ability to either fill our mind with eternal truth and substance of long-lasting nature, or subject ourselves to the temporary nature of the material energy and suffer the weakness, the pangs, the disgust, the anxiety, and the grief that energy has to offer. That's all it has to offer, the temporary material energy. And all we have to do is look at everything dying and how much death there is. I think there's more dying or more being born. There's more dying, right, than there are being born in this world. I don't think you can keep up with the death. There's more dying than being brought to life. Maybe not. We have to include all the animals, all the fish, all the birds, all the bacteria. How many forms of life are there on this planet? So if there's 8 million 400,000 species of life in the universe. Does that mean the spiritual world is limited to that many forms of life? And if Krishna himself has incarnated in every form, like with Vamanadeva, he appears very small, and then with one step he crosses the entire universe and kicks a hole in the universe to plant his first step in the spiritual world from here, to show us how quick he can get there. Boom, Krishna can get there in one moment's thought, in the blink of an eye. That's how fast Krishna can transport one to the spiritual world. Similarly, when we read, you pick up a newspaper and read the mundane activities, and then one moment later, almost an instant, you're in the spiritual world just by reading Bhagavatam. It's a flick of a moment. Happens. Death is like that too. Like a flash, a blink of an eye, and then boom, we're gone. We're here, and then gone. So, we have to know where we're going, we have to know how to get there. And then just do it. Now. And Krishna says, be happy. Chant and be happy while you're doing it. That's the key. No matter what you have to do. If you gotta do it anyways, might as well be happy doing it. So that's why we should sing all the time. Just sing, chant and be happy, and sing that gives eternal experience of pleasure and bliss and happiness. That's Krishna. That's what we want. Josh. Any comments, any questions, any realization? Life is made so easy if we just follow the simple principles. Only 4. And those are broken down to 2. Just remember Krishna and don't forget him. Break that down to 1, just remember him all the time. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam, Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai. All glory to the simple